Welcome back to another episode of Fast Casual Nation. I'm your host, Paul Barron, and as you guys know, this show really drills down into the business of fast casual. One of the things that we are really kind of exploring at this time in the history of fast casual is what I think is a new evolution that is changing kind of the dynamics of how fast casual operations are going to be ran in the future. And today's topic is going to really be all about operational tactics in fast casual. I thought, hey, what better guy to have on the show? None other than master of the change agent, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Clay Dover of Velvet Taco. Great to have you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I love that hoodie thing you got going right there. That's a sly-looking machine. Yeah,
it's very cold here in Dallas today. You know, it's probably like 55.
We can understand that. Yeah, we don't get that down here in Miami much, but it's I hear about those things, this cold weather and snow and all that
crazy
stuff. Hey, so Clay, you've got a lot happening at Velvet Taco. A lot of new concepts that are being rolled out. First, kind of update us on where are you guys today? What's your unit count? Kind of give us a sit rep.
Sure. So we're at 18 company-owned restaurants today. We're all company-owned. We are in 6 cities and 4 states. So we have continued to roll out and open restaurants. We're actually opening another restaurant in Houston this coming Monday, which will be number 19. But no, we, along with everyone else, had to hunker down a little bit during the original outset of the pandemic, but we have all of our restaurants open. Year over year open hours, we're actually flat to maybe a little bit down, but where we're missing it right now is the late night hours. As you know, our concept stays open late, and it's just people are not out and about. But we're continually moving forward and opening restaurants.
You know, Clay, with that on that note, when you look at day parts, because a lot of restaurants in the fast casual space, typically they have the solid lunch day part, maybe a decent dinner day part. You guys kind of cross over into a lot of day parts. Do you think this is something that's going to stay with how consumers are kind of consuming food, or do you think this is just a short-term scenario?
No, I think some of the trends that we're seeing are going to stay. For example, for Velvet Taco, 35% of our sales come at lunch, 40% at dinner, and then we've got a late night component, which is after 10 p.m., which usually accounts for about 25% of sales.
Okay.
What we're seeing right now is just a real spread out, much like everyone else. You know, instead of just having a line of people at 11:30 for lunch, it starts even before we open, and people are coming in and eating lunch all throughout the day. We're seeing snack periods just continue to grow. Interesting enough, we saw margaritas. We've seen an uptick of margaritas being sold at lunch too. So I'm assuming that there's some folks that are working at home that are indulging in afternoon margarita drinking. But I think it's going to continue.
You got to have a siesta every once in a while, you know.
Yeah, I understand, sure.
Yeah, I was talking to a consumer science expert, and she was kind of alluding to the same point you are, and that is that the habits that have kind of been built into our society over the last year, especially around consuming food, is that there's a lot of movement because of the work from home space where it's just changing their day part hours of when they go get lunch or when they even go get dinner. But more importantly, one she mentioned to me was that there are consumers out there that are intentionally moving their lunch hours either up or back to avoid crowds. And this is something that they did a study on this, in that people didn't want to be in these dense, populated, noon to 12:30 kind of pickup zone, which is what, the drill, it happens in restaurants. So with that spreading out the lunch hour from, say, 11 to, say, 2:30, what does that do to the operational aspects of a Velvet Taco if you have that kind of spread?
So Velvet Taco, we're very prep intensive. We make everything by hand. We don't have any prepackaged. We have no freezers in our restaurants. So we've had to go back and look at our labor schedules. And Ken Brendemill, who runs our operations, has done a great job along with our field leadership in breaking down our day parts and our labor schedules in 15-minute increments and really identifying by restaurant. And we rely on our general managers, who are the leaders of each individual restaurant, to make those decisions. We're in markets, we're in Chicago, we're in Dallas, we're in Charlotte. It's different based on each location. And so we've had to change and adjust our labor model. And what we found is one model doesn't fit for all. Whereas before, to your point, it used to be pretty consistent. 11:30 to 1 o'clock was the busy hour. Everybody came off the prep lines. Everybody got online and worked the line to get as many tacos out as possible. What this kind of spreading out has happened both at lunch and dinner. We're seeing dinner pops starting at 4 o'clock, 4:30 now. People coming in for dinners. Right. You have to have team members available. You have to adjust your schedules. And just have to be really nimble and flexible. You have to look at it almost on a daily. And like I said, we broke it down into 15-minute increments, which is something a bit new for us, where you got to look at it. The difference between 10:45 and 11 could be a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, and of course, labor being a big factor in all fast casual operations. This kind of presents, to me, and when I analyze this, to me, could present a challenge. If we see the spread out of these day parts operationally, it could, I guess it addresses the issue of the line queue, which is what everybody was really concerned about, is, okay, when we get back to normal, how do we deal with the 6-foot distancing if this is something that's going to be kind of implemented in our society for a longer period of time? If the day parts are stretched out, that means fewer in the line queue, but just a more constant line queue all the time. You may not have to have, physical changes in the restaurant. That's a hard bet, because you're having to kind of think about how to design new stores right now. And you have to kind of be prepared for either one, a line queue that you've got to address, or two, these spread out day parts. What bet are you guys making?
Yes, both, all of the above. No, here's what we've seen at Velvet Taco. So Velvet Taco, prior to the pandemic, was already a heavy takeout restaurant. We did about 37, 38% takeout. Mm-hmm. We've seen that double during the pandemic. So, for those of you who don't know, Velvet Taco, our average unit volume is north of $4 million for our comp restaurants. And so it's a lot of $4 and $5 tacos going out the door. We are used to seeing lines, and we've had to queue those up. Our operations team has done a great job in really looking at the way and the way in which we prepare tacos and actually increasing our throughput for tacos. The quicker that we can get guests through the line, the less time that, number one, they're waiting for their food, and also they're not just standing next to each other in a queue line or in a takeout pickup window area as well. So we've got all the social distancing stickers out. We've trained our staff. We've done everything. And quite frankly, what we're seeing, our guests are self-distancing. It's a way of life now, and I think it'll be a way of life going forward. We are adjusting some of the queue lines, and we're being cognizant of, as we build new restaurants, where guests are standing, how far apart they are, et cetera. I don't think this is a trend that's going to go away. And I think as restaurateurs, especially in fast casual, we just need to plan on that going forward in the future.
Yeah, just growth in takeout, delivery, all of that. I think everybody's kind of on that page in terms of especially in the fast casual category. I want to get into store design, restaurant design, because this is something that is more and more evident in a lot of different brands that are, it seems like every week I get a new prototype design in a press release that somebody's, doing. You guys took a little different approach with Velvet Taco, with your most recent location opening there in Houston. Talk to me about the decisions you guys made to kind of look at a new footprint for Velvet Taco.
Yeah, so this is something, our average restaurant size, originally was rather small, and like many other restaurants, we started adding more spaces, et cetera. Around the last several restaurants, we were already starting to head towards a direction of making the restaurants smaller. Our average restaurant size is about 2,600 square feet. So from a sales per square foot, high volume again. And we wanted to make sure that we were as smart as possible of using that space. several of our restaurants that have come that we've opened here lately have a drive-through pickup window. We've implemented a pickup window to the outside in all of our restaurants. We're trying to actually shrink the box even smaller, trying to get smaller than 2,500. As far as our most recent openings, you'll notice, and if you visit them, they have a drive-through pickup window, not a drive-through, but an actual pickup window. So you order ahead on your mobile app, you drive through and pick it up. It's something that's very common with us within the industry. Guests, we found the first week about 1 in every 5 guests, because we track these things. 1 in every 5 guests were just showing up to start, ordering like a regular drive-through. They saw that there was a lane, they saw cars, they just pulled up.
Yeah.
We have a dedicated parking spot where we say, hey, here's our app, scan this little barcode, this QR code here, and we'll have your food ready for you in about 7 minutes. We upgraded also all of the tech inside the restaurant. We changed out our POS system, something a little more flexible. I'll tell you, it's Toast. They've been great partners. We've got KDS screens in the back of all our restaurants now. Our operators now are at a level where they're looking at sales per labor hour. We're looking at ticket times. We did a hand motion study to understand what the best way is to execute our restaurants. And, we've reduced our ticket times by about 50% during our peak periods, just because of some of these operational changes that Ken Brendamill and our ops leadership team has been able to put in place. We're now building restaurants with the dual-sided line. We've got a variety of things that we've put in place in order to speed up the actual delivery and the actual preparation of the food in whole. Our ticket times are now around 6 minutes during our peak period, whereas before, they're north of 10 minutes sometimes. And if you can increase your output or your throughput of tacos by 50%, suddenly now where a busy hour for us used to be $2,000 an hour, and we'd sit back and go, wow, that was really busy. Now that's easy. We can do $3,000 hours just because we've increased the ability to push tacos out. So it's really about just being smart inside the restaurants. I'd like to say that we were already pointed in this direction prior to the pandemic. We had already put in place, so of our 18 restaurants, 4 of them have drive-through. And as I mentioned before, half of them going forward will have drive-through pickup windows. But we had already been putting pickup windows in. We had adjusted our takeout. We had done a whole training around takeout. We adjusted our labor model. And so when the pandemic hit, it wasn't a huge pivot for us. We were already doing, over $1 million in pickup, takeout sales already. We had already aligned with third-party deliveries. We had implemented Olo and Rails. We had implemented our own, mobile app ordering system. So, it was not a fun period, but thankfully we were already poised in that direction. We were able to take advantage of some of the training and learnings that had happened ahead of time.
Yeah. With the competition and kind of the field as it lays right now, especially in the Fresh Mex category, there are a lot of brands that are moving very fast digital forward. Obviously, Chipotle, we do a lot of analysis on them. We think they're, one of the leading. Yeah, it's that small guy that sells burritos. We like what they're doing on the digital front. How important, and I think this is a common question that everybody says, yeah, digital is important, but how important is it? Some executives are all in on digital, but are they, kind of thing. And then you have executives that are, like what Nickel has done over at Chipotle. He's pretty much put all his chips on the table and said, this is the route we're taking. Is this something you guys are looking at doing? How committed are you, I think, in really going to the digital route for sales?
Yeah, we're very committed. We believe that this is the future. Look, I believe personally the key to the future will be getting your product in guests' hands in the least amount of friction and the easiest for guests. I think whether it's pickup, whether it's digital ordering, you name it, the easier it is to get food in people's hands, that will be the winning combination for the future. So we are going all in. I'm not going to say that Velvet Taco is a tech company. I always find that funny. Look, I make tacos. We make great tacos. We feed our communities. That's what we do. But the tech allows us to be more efficient. It allows us to be faster. It allows us to make better decisions. A couple of our big initiatives are implementing a whole new back of the house tech system that, is cutting edge and will allow us to analyze and understand things like theoretical food costs. I mean, for an
Right.
18 unit chain for the size that we are, I like to tell our ownership and our board that we're the biggest small group out there. We've got things and tools in place, and thankfully we've been able to lay a groundwork for the future. That I look at things and say, okay, what would it be if we were a 200 unit chain? What should we
Hmm.
have? And let's put those things in place now. And these aren't easy decisions for operators to decide to change out a POS system or to change out a back of the house system. We're implementing a new loyalty platform we partnered up with Thanks, and we're gathering up all this data about our guests. And not only are we going to create a customer loyalty program, but we're
Yeah.
analyzing the data. We're telling our operators, here's what those guests are ordering, and here's when they're ordering, and when they order
Right.
this, they're actually ordering a margarita as well. So it will help operators make better decisions. As far as for Velvet Taco, we have invested in the future, and those are a couple of our big initiatives for 2021 are very tech focused.
Yeah. Well, did you say your unit volume was average 4 million? Is that what I heard?
4.2
So,
million. Yeah. It's a lot of
okay, so
tacos.
well, you're cracking at the high end of most fast casual AUVs. So Clay, let's go on to talking about kind of this new trend that some brands are doing, which is pick up and take out only, much smaller footprints. With your scenario being at over 4 million AUV, is that something that's sustainable for Velvet to say go in a direction like that if you've got those kind of numbers? Where do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a challenge that Velvet will face. We are currently building a restaurant in Charlotte that we took over an old Dairy Queen. That's about 800 square feet. It won't have any in-restaurant dining seats. It'll be pickup only and takeout. We'll have some patio seating outside, but I think each brand is going to be difficult. Is going to be unique in looking at what the amount of food they can actually produce and put out. For us, $4 million volumes are going to be tough in a takeout only. But like I said, we've adjusted some of our model inside the restaurant. We're looking at our double-sided make lines
Hmm.
with spread out day parts. We've got some restaurants that are doing 75% takeout outside of the restaurant right now, and I'm sure as many of your viewers are in big cities. Chicago is 100% takeout, so
Yeah.
there is no in-restaurant dining there as well. So I think we're going to get a lot of practice, unfortunately,
Yeah,
on
for
doing
sure.
that.
Well, I think it all depends on the concept, as to whether or not you can maintain that kind of can you handle the throughput, the packaging, all those influxes that change up the dynamic of your restaurant. You've got costs going elsewhere, which is kind of the scenario I saw and I'm interested in seeing more of these units drop with Chipotle because they've kind of gone in that direction. Starbucks is going in that direction. We've got a little chain here in South Florida called Pronto that has done that with Italian food. So there seems to be a little bit of groundswell here. Real estate's going to be available to you. So,
Yeah,
there's going to be some options. Does this feel like 2008 all over again, where there was a great real estate?
a little bit. I think some of the great real estate, though, is still taken. What we've
Yeah.
what we've found is that unfortunately, there are some second and third gen sites that have become available through this recent time frame, but they're not the great sites, and most of
Right.
the great operators with the great sites still have the A+ sites.
Yeah.
We're finding in some of the smaller markets some good sites. We're going to open in Lubbock, Texas, and it's a college town. We're opening College Station, Norman. So we're able to find some good sites there that are going to be converted and already have a pickup, a drive-through, which is great. We can do it affordably and move quickly. But the great sites, are still being run by great operators. And
Hmm.
we haven't seen a lot of landlords coming down on price yet. I've been a bit
Yeah.
surprised still.
Yeah, I still hear that from a lot of operators too, is that the landlords are kind of holding strong on this. I think it's just a matter of time if you have vacancies that, we may see some retail centers start to move on that. It may take till maybe Q3, Q4, even 2021 before we see that, because that, if they're REITs and are large investment groups that can kind of set on that property,
Yeah.
definitely going to be. And of course, the evolution of where fast casual, the demand of property is different now. Everybody's looking for an end cap so you can put a drive-through in,
Yeah.
or a pickup window, or they're dealing with parking scenarios that you've got to have for curbside and all that kind of stuff. Let me ask you one last question, and that is, when we look at, because you guys operationally have kind of adapted, you were kind of already poised in this, you've put a lot of money in tech. If you were kind of forecasting here 2-3 years down the road, how far in to certain kinds of technology are you willing to invest, specifically around third party? So third party delivery, big 800-pound gorilla that everybody's kind of fighting with right now. Do you see a technology hitting the ground that's going to help the restaurant industry out for direct delivery that will alleviate that pain?
I hope so. Look, we're signed up and we do a large part of our business with third party delivery. I think the challenge that I've had with thinking through that component is that it's a different business. It's a logistics business. It's not a restaurant business. And I know a lot of folks have decided to do their own, or they've looked at alternatives. I believe that this is a technology that will come about at some point, just out of necessity. People will continue to order third party. My daughter orders a milkshake and gets it delivered to the house, which drives me crazy. But from a convenience standpoint, I just think that, again, we're training our guests, and consumers out there are getting used to that. And if you're willing to pay the premium, the convenience is going to be there. Again, if you can get your product in the guest's hands with the least amount of friction, people are going to be willing to pay it. So I believe that there's some tech that'll be on the horizon that'll make that easier. That will probably come from someone with a restaurant's background, a food service background, where they understand our side of the business. And, it's more of a partnership and a collaboration than anything else. And I know that some of the delivery companies are working hand in hand with some different brands and developing, cloud kitchens and things like that.
Sure.
I hope to see more of that cooperation going forward. And I think that, this pandemic, this past year or so, has really accelerated those learnings. But I see a tech solution down the road that will enable an easier way that third party and restaurants will be able to work together.
So you're a tech bull for fast casual. I like that.
Yeah.
Listen, have you guys seen, we just interviewed a small company that's doing some AI voice technology for drive-through, for curbside, basically takeout. It basically puts an AI machine in between the order taking element and also the interface for it. Do you think voice versus app or e-commerce, if you were betting on one? Because that's going to be
that's a good
app,
bet.
e-commerce, voice. What do you think? Because that's we're seeing a lot of movement there.
Yeah, I would probably lean personally on the app side.
Okay.
I've seen the voice as well. It's an interesting approach. I think, especially for fast casual. I mean, look, we looked at, as we were building these restaurants with a drive-through component, what would it take for us to do a true drive-through, and would be guests be willing to wait 7 minutes for their items, and would we have to do menu configuration? I do think that drive-through changes the brand, at least for our brand.
Yeah.
If you're walking around with a headset and you got, a flashing, blinking time frame up above the window, and I like the idea of using tech. I think that we're training guests. I think, that small concept that you mentioned before, Chipotle, Starbucks, others, we're going to be able to teach and educate guests on how to use technology to get their items. I've seen the voice. I do think it's an interesting, but that communication has to be almost instantaneous. And if there's any sort of breakdown between someone sitting in a control room placing an order as someone's talking to a virtual screen or to a virtual, cashier, if there's any sort of breakdown or any sort of lag time, you're kind of SOL, and you're
Yeah.
going to default to a normal person that leans out a window and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get what you said there." So I lean more towards the technology side. I think between the amount of usage that people are using technology, whether it's like we're doing now, we're conducting a complete interview. I think, oh man, one of the times before I remember sitting down with you, and now this is normal. We're having
Yeah.
Zoom calls. I'm watching the news with people on Zoom. I just think technology is going to find its home within fast casual. I think it's going to stay.
Yeah, absolutely. Clay, it's always fun to talk to you. I think you guys are definitely on something down there. So great having Clay Dover, the #1 taco maker in the world.
Thank you.
With Velvet Taco. Great having you. All right, you guys are you bet. You guys are listening over on the podcast. Make sure and drop us a review. We'd love to get that feedback from you. If you have an idea for the show, shoot us an email to producer@foodabletv.com. And of course, you can always hit me up on Twitter. If you think there is a brand that we should have on, like Clay and Velvet Taco, that's the best way to reach out, and we'll definitely bring them in. Thanks again for watching another great episode here on Fast Casual Nation.